Hello, my name is Austen Hufford, and I'm an economics senior here at the University of Michigan. I was also the online editor of the Michigan Daily for the previous 3 semesters. Today we're going to be talking with Ari Shavit. He's an Israeli columnist for the Israeli newspaper Haaretz since 1995. And he's also the author of a book which won the Nate Book Award and was a New York Times bestseller. How you came across this field, you're so passionate about it.
Well, I became a journalist by accident. Plan A was to be a psychologist, but then I couldn't do all the statistics involved, so I gave up on psychology. Plan B was to be a philosopher, but I did too well too early, and they were going to send me to do my PhD in Princeton, and I was terrified of becoming an academic at the age of 24. So I said, what would I do? And I said, I remember that I always loved writing. So I said, let's try the writing. And I was very lucky in the sense that I had the ability not to go through the system. I was like, I worked in a progressive, high quality, hip weekly magazine. So it was like the best place to study journalism without going to journalism school. And I just entered, front stage like luck. Passionate about it. I'd say something. I'm not sure that had I been an American, I would have become a journalist. I have a feeling that, as I am an Israeli, I live in such a dramatic place where covering the drama is deeply significant. And my greatest fear about journalism, and I don't know if some of you are concerned about this, is banality. Because I treat the written word I admire the written word, and I regard it with sanctity. It's like almost holy. And there is an issue with the industrial production of words, which is what you're doing in journalism. So while I think journalism is so needed, there's no free society without it, there's no democracy without it, and I think it's so important. I'm so worried about where journalism is today. But I'm not sure I would have done it myself had I not been living in such a dramatic country. But I say, with a smile, that had I not been an Israeli, I would not have been a journalist. But I cannot understand how you can be an Israeli without being a journalist. Because it enables me to deal with ongoing drama and to do something about it. And I feel privileged because there is no banality. The danger of banality is not there. It's so, what's happening is so intense and so significant that it puts you in a position where I wake up in the morning and I'm jealous of myself. Because I don't make any money of journalism. I mean, we're paid peanuts, pennies, nickels and dimes. But it's so gratifying because on the one hand, I'll tell you 2 to 3 things. One, my paper is considered Israel's paper of record. So you write for your readers, but you know that you write for history. You write, the saying that journalism is the first draft of history. In Israel, with my work, you really feel it on a daily basis. And I know it because I see that I use so much archival material, and you see how my journalists have passed away and so on, how significant what they left is. So that's one thing. The other thing, you are a player in the public arena without wearing a tie. You're not an official, you're not in a suit. And when I was a young journalist, I had the Beetle. And I enjoyed it so much that I would take my old Beetle and park it by the Prime Minister's office and walk in like I am less than what I am now, with no tie, and walk into these halls of power, these rooms of powerful people, where they're all power politics. And I felt that that's like real democracy, because I came from outside, just myself, just a person, just a citizen. The powerful people have to relate to you because you have sort of power, but you're not within the power political game. So you keep a kind of innocence, you're free, you do kind of sacred work, and you have impact, and without losing your soul. So that's a wonderful combination. I mean, first of all, to be part of taking the record of such a drama, then being involved with really maintaining democracy alive without betraying yourself in a way that many politicians have to betray themselves.
And so I guess you're kind of known for presenting a more nuanced view of Israel and its narrative, I guess.
Some say.
Some people say that, right. And the question is, though, I mean, do you think other journalists in Israel do that? I mean, do you think that other journalists in Israel present, because like people say that journalists are supposed to be unbiased, and they're supposed to just present the facts and situation. And I guess, do you think the discussion is happening in Israel and the media that it should be at this point?
So first of all, I do my best. I'm sure others do their best. I think that in a sense I have a kind of unique role in some way, not because I'm right and others are wrong, but because I refuse to be part of the herd. One of the main problems we have in Israel, and which I think sadly now you have in your journalism as well, is that people are very biased. They're very, we have a problem of political tribes in Israel, and you see it in journalism as well. And people very much write from within the tribe. And part of my mission throughout my years was to challenge my own tribe. So I do belong to the Israeli center left, I'm liberal and so on, but I always felt an obligation not to be serving the agenda of a certain group. So I tried to, the people on the right with whom I have a deep debate, I tried to be as fair as possible to them. I tried to respect them even when we have a very harsh debate. I listen to them. I sometimes see that they have a point. I'm not into just bashing. And I see and I saw things throughout the years, the flaws of my own people. Right? So, although I do belong, I don't pretend to be like a jack. I have very strong views and I have convictions. But I always, one of the nice compliments that I get in Israel is that people say that when they see my name, they don't know what to expect. With so many columnists, they know what they'll read. And with me, they're surprised because of that. Although I have a line, I have my ideology, my agenda is clear, I'm open about it. But I took some actions in the past that really angered my friends and colleagues. I risked my professional career time after time, not unwanted, because, I don't want to get to the Israeli examples, but imagine, the New York Times publishing 2 weeks before an election a major article giving deep criticism of the Democratic candidate. Sadly, it doesn't happen that much. It doesn't happen that much. And I did things like that, because I felt that although I have my candidate, I have my opinions, my obligation as a journalist is to give my readers the best information possible and analysis and information to make the right decision when they, in this amazing day that we have the right to go and vote. So, when I watch the Fox, MSNBC dynamics in this country, I'm troubled. I'm not in America, but I care about your democracy, and I'm troubled. Because I think reality is complex, even when I have very strong views, and when I see news organizations that cannot deal with half reality, a third of reality, they just are blind to see it, as if they're not allowed to talk about it. I can't work in such a place. I'm all about freedom. That freedom is my oxygen. So I will not take marching orders from anyone, not from my publisher, not from my editor, not from my media. And I make my mistakes on my own. But I think that being an individual freedom and dignity and professional dignity. And I'm troubled when I don't see enough of this in Israel or in other.
And so how do you, I guess, deal with the criticism then? If you're constantly challenging both sides, it must be sometimes hard. Because if you're always writing positive things about one community, at least that community embraces you. But when you're someone who's more in the middle between two competing interests or multiple competing interests, how do you deal with the journalist? I mean, with the criticism of that?
So first of all, I'm not in the middle again. It's not. I'm not like and sometimes in some ways perhaps I can be portrayed as perceived as a centrist, but I'm not like. As I said, I take every issue. I can be on some issues radical left, on some issues like not radical right, but pretty right. I look at. I'm not willing to buy baskets that because you're red you have a red basket, because you're blue you have a red. I look at every issue and as I say I look at it. Perhaps I'm wrong in analyzing, but but look, the issue of criticism is very important. And I think there is a lot of totalitarianism around that we are not aware of. Totalitarianism is not only when there is a Stalin. There's also a kind, and this is relevant to academic work, and it's relevant to media. In many places that are officially committed to free thinking, free speech, there isn't that much. Because there is like free thinking as long as you think within certain lines. And the moment you challenge that, you are in trouble. And there's nothing from my own experience I can tell you. It's much easier to be stoned by the people on the other side. That's relatively easy. To be stoned by your own people, it's really difficult. And again, I had several moments, quite a number, in my career when I really made my own people so angry. And as I said, I risked myself professionally. And I think it's so important for journalists to have the guts to do that. If you're not willing to go against the wind, if you're just adjusting, and if you're going with the herd, I think you're betraying your mission. I think this is a profession, and this is a vocation, it's not only a profession. This is a vocation, and it's about being true to yourself, being an individual. If you're part of some sort of collective, then go to politics, do party politics, do demonstrate. But I think that it's our moral and professional obligation, to be individuals. And ironically, many people who talk about individualism are afraid to be really individual. And again, in this sense, my main dialogue is with liberals who are committed to these values. But sometimes there is a kind of totalitarian liberalism when you're not allowed to challenge our own dogmas. There are certain things you are supposed to think, and if you challenge it, you're in trouble. So I think, part of it, as I said, I think there's a lot of privilege that comes with being a journalist. There's commitment that comes with it, and the commitment is to be willing to risk yourself and not to be afraid of it. It's critical. If you don't have the guts to face people who might really hate you, at a certain moment they can't be they're almost violent. Don't do it. If you don't have the courage to face that, don't be there.
So in the last 20 years, there's been a lot of changes in the media industry, both in the world and in Israel specifically. With the internet, with the founding of several newspapers in Israel. Can you talk about how that media industry has changed, how that has affected the media and Indian journalists?
So I don't know about this, but I'll tell you where what's the good news and the bad news. The good news is really this freedom and this democracy, and the fact that everybody can express itself, and in this sense it should bring much more freedom and flow of ideas and information. And to a degree it's true. The other side of it is that there is, I think, a kind of inflation. And I'm worried about inflation. There's too much information, there's too much talk. And then sometimes it's difficult. You need some sort of system that will be a professional system that will have some rules and some professionality in how to deal with these things. And there is a gradual erosion. So I think, you know, the jury's still out. The whole thing is still too new and it's too early to tell. But you see the beauty, which is obvious, of the free flow of information. And you say, I see two problems. Problems one is less professionality and less respect, because some people who do the serious work, they are not paid properly, they are not respected enough, and it's easy to manipulate people with this kind of environment. I mean, one of our jobs as hopefully serious journalists is to fight the PRs, fight the spin doctors. And ironically, when you weaken the professional journalism, you strengthen the ability of people, of power players to manipulate the masses. That's one problem. The other problem, you know, my friend Leon Wiesel, he writes a lot about the digital masses, or sometimes digital lynches and so on. So sometimes you see, and it's really sad because the opportunity of having this huge global hyper where everyone can express itself. But you see that sadly a lot of this opportunity is wasted on, and I'm not talking about this opinion or not, on a lot of cheap talk, violent talk, attacks that are like wild. Rather than have a kind of civilized, open debate, we have a lot of violence and troubling phenomena.
Do you think that's changing, or is it more visible now? Because then they always have.
No, I think it's though perhaps obviously it was something in I don't think, you know, human nature changed, but the moment the old-fashioned journalism was a kind of mediator, so we didn't allow this. Look, it's a bit like one of the reasons you want courts is because you don't want the lynch mentality in this time. When people are outraged by something for good reason, but they don't have the process to deal with it. So you want a judge there to be cold and professional and not emotional and deal with the stuff. And journalists in the best sense, unfortunately we have a lot of bad journalism, but the quality journalism is supposed to do with that, you know, to deal, not to have a kind of process that is professional. And we're losing part of that. And so I still hope, you know, it's early days, although it's 20 years, whatever, but I hope that we will find like new modes of the better kind of old journalism that can survive, and I do hope that eventually the unpleasant phenomena that come with a digital freedom will subside, and we'll have people going back to, you know, more respectful kind of debate, even when it's fierce debate.
So I was talking to my friend Tripp before this talk, and he was talking about how, you know, some people might say that Israel's maybe criticized more in the Israeli media than in the U.S. media. What are your thoughts about that idea, and about whether, you know, whether both media industries are exploring the country as well as they should?
Look, first of all, let me say something. One of the nice things about Israel has many flaws and many problems. One of the really impressive things about Israel that it's really a very democracy and a really free society. So our democracy is problematic in the sense that I don't think we have the right kind of leadership. Our political system is in deep crisis. You know, Washington is broken, Jerusalem is definitely broken. And so the institutional democracy is in trouble so in many ways. But it's there. So it is a democracy with all the problems. But what you see with the people, the Israelis are people who claim that Israel is some sort of semi-fascist country or militaristic country. I mean, this is like ridiculous. Anyone who knows Israel, Israelis are so anarchistic by nature. We don't take orders from anyone. We respect nobody. The problem in Israel is that we're too wild, not that we're not. I mean, like, disciplined fascism is like, we're as far from that. We are really a wild, vivid, kicking and screaming democracy. Right? And I think the Israeli media reflects it. So the good thing about, let's begin with that. The bad thing about the Israeli media, one, because it's a small country and a small market, we don't have enough. It's too common. There's a concentration of wealth, there is a concentration of media power. So we don't have enough diversity. By the way, the victims of this are mainly the people on the right. I mean, generally speaking, the Israeli media, traditionally, it's a center-left media. And the right, the people on the right have a just claim, historically, now it changed. But historically, they were not enough represented. The media did not represent the Israeli right for a long time. So now it's different, but that was a little bit. But generally, you have we don't have enough media organizations. That's one problem. Number two, there is sometimes a bit lack of professionality because people are so emotional, so tribal, so, you know, the hormones are flowing. So it's a bit too much. But the good thing about it that it's so free and it does bite and it is a watchdog. Again, not so and this is what leads to your question. That's why it's so Israeli media is so critical of Israel, so critical of governments. And in this sense, yes, I think that America, and I have deep respect. I wish we had you. I again with some criticism, but I think you have some amazing news organizations in this country that I wish we had. But your way of dealing with your sensitive issue is much more cautious than ours. I can give you an example that doesn't have to do with America. It's an example many years ago. We had a major scandal with the Israeli Secret Service. It was after many years ago. At the very same time, there was a similar, and basically it was based on the fact that two terrorists were killed after they were captured. They were terrorists, they did something horrible, but they were actually captured, and they were killed in an unlawful way after being captured, and the Secret Service tried to hide. In Britain, at the very same time, like a year apart, they had exactly the same affair. It was still an Irish problem, and they killed some Irish parents, and similar affairs. In Britain, the mother of all democracies, with a great British media, this was dealt with a very, very cautious way. They didn't rock the boat in Britain. Israel went wild. The media killed the government. The entire top of the Secret Service was forced out. And the entire top, we nearly destroyed our Secret Service office. We went, the president, by the way, the prime minister at the time was Mr. Perez, from the left, but he tried to cover up to help the Secret Service and some others. He was slammed by the media. And this affair, like, Israelis were preoccupied with this for 3 years. So this gives you an example. I mean, anyone who doesn't understand how free Israel is, in this sense, you know, we are wild in this sense. So there is this self-criticism. We are very critical of ourselves, and now I'll say something not as a journalist. I do have some criticism of ourselves. So as journalists, we should be critical. I think that's important. As a writer and as an Israeli, as a kind of historian, I sometimes think that we are too critical of ourselves because there are two elements. With all its flaws and problems, I think Israel one person. So it's flawed, so flawed, it makes so many mistakes. I oppose occupation, I oppose settlements, I oppose many things. But sometimes, because we are so absorbed in the debate and the criticism, we lose sight of this amazing phenomenon of a people that nearly die and saved themselves at the very last moment and built this remarkable entity against all odds. So I do think that people need to balance. I mean, this does not mean you should not criticize a terrible action by the Israeli prime ministers yesterday or tomorrow. But relax. I mean, look at the context. The context is that Israel is an amazing frontier democracy. Look, this is important. That is very important for me to consider. The fact that we have such a democracy is mind-blowing. Because we had no democratic tradition. The Jews who went back to their ancient homeland to build Israel came mostly from East Europe, North Africa, and West Asia, where there were no democracies, no democratic tradition. We didn't have what you had. Even your founding fathers, that I admire, came from the British tradition. They came and they came from the European Enlightenment, and we came from nothing. We had no democratic tradition. And we find ourselves in a 100-year war. When you are in a constant war, the temptation to turn fascist is very deep. Very few democracies survive with a constant war. And we did this. It was not, I mean, the fact that Israel is such an oasis of freedom and democracy in this violent, extremist, tribal Middle East, with all the traumas of our past, with the lack of democratic traditions, with no democratic environment around us. This is amazing. This is amazing. So, while again you should be critical of Israel where it's wrong, see it in context. See how this basic phenomenon of free life, free society, and a vivid democracy. So I'm so proud of Israel as a frontier democracy, and this is why I so much believe in the alliance between America and Israel in a deep way. It's not only strategic. I really believe in the shared values, because you are a great democracy, something some Americans don't cherish enough, don't appreciate enough. And we are the frontier democracy. So I think we definitely need you, but I think that there is reason to have a deep alliance there based on shared liberal democratic values.
So this is my last question before opening up to the audience. But could you just talk a little about your process for your weekly columns, kind of from ideation to completion, and how far ahead do you think about what you want to write, I guess?
I guess that's the second part.
Like, how far ahead are you planning your columns?
Oh, I'm an Israeli. We never plan. So, look, the easiest columns to write are when you're very angry. And because I'm so angry most of the time, it's very easy to write. So, and the trick is actually, for me, is always to have the first sentence. Once I have the first sentence, I know the rest will flow. So now I don't know what will happen. Even definitely when I wrote a book or a chapter, I'm not an engineer. As you can say, I'm like a free agent, free spirit, free whatever, free entity. And so and this is why I cannot plan ahead. So, but I believe in intuition. I'm a very emotional guy and a bit romantic. So I'm driven by kind of, I need inspiration and a notion of where I'm going, a general notion, but I don't like plan, A, B, C, this was going here, that. Things actually fall into place as they develop. So it's a very organic process. So because we are old friends, I'll give you all the secrets. I love to write in cafes and bars. I need a kind of, I like not to be just in my style, but I love the bustle of life around. So usually I need a strong motivation, like something, and I could write 5 articles. I mean, there's so much to write about. There's so much that turns me on for better and for worse. But usually the process is that I know what it's going to be about, and I have the first sentence. quiet bar, so it's not too noisy. And I love it. And this is why I'm telling you I'm so jealous of myself. I sit there working. It's my job. I even get paid for it, not much, but I even get paid for it, but I do it for nothing. And I enjoy every moment of it. But the painful, it's not painful, but the hard part is that I have many drafts. I mean, I don't write easy. I have some friends who just comes out. So it does come out of me, but then I polish it and I go over it once, twice, 3 times, and it's in this sense there is agony in the process as well, but I love it. I mean, there's writing for me is that's a meaning of life. I mean, I cannot if I don't write, it's like not breathing.
And how do you know when you wrote a good column or a column you really love?
Look, first of all, I'll tell you, there's one thing I cannot do. I cannot read my own stuff. So after it's really a bit like, I mean, everything is a bit like pregnancy. I'm a male, but it's all pregnancy. So whatever, there is a process that it's a very like intimate internal process. I'm always surprised by what comes out. Again, I have a general notion, but then I say, wow, not that I'm surprised that it's so great, but I'm like, if I'm not surprised by my own sentences, some of them, because it's no good. So there is this moment, before you send it, that you read it. That's the last time I actually read it. So you say, wow, nice. But I never read it in paper. I never read it online. I want to see that it's there, but I cannot. I blush if I read my stuff. It's like I cannot see myself on television even. When I watch, I'm embarrassed. And there is, I think there is a point here. I really believe, and this has to do with writing, not only journalism. In a sense, I treat it almost like fine writing, because I think the whole beauty of writing is that there is a process to connect your several things that you're talking about. It comes from it's something that flows from within to the outside world. That's the beauty. So it's like warm stuff, and then it goes out there and becomes cold. So it's like an organic process of this pregnancy, and until it's out there, and then suddenly it's there, and then that's it. It belongs to the world. It's not yours anymore. So this is why I don't look back at it. Sometimes when I'm forced to write something I've written years ago, it troubles me. But I love the process.
And so we have a lot of people who want to be journalists here, maybe, or interested in the industry. Do you have any questions that you guys have? Or?
What language do you prefer to write in, and do you find benefits in writing
What language?
Yeah, in either like Hebrew or English. Are there differences for you?
Look, I'm basically, although perhaps I'm close to being bilingual, but I'm a Hebrew speaker. Hebrew is my language. I was lucky enough to be a year as a child in America, so that gave me English. So I'm at peace with English, but Hebrew is my language. It's not that I'm bilingual. I am, because I find myself writing with a book. It was like, I'd written many articles.
Did you write it in English?
I wrote it in both languages.
Okay.
I said to some people who asked me about this earlier on, I was commissioned to write it in English because Random House have this weakness; they want their books in English, and so I can write in English. I read the thing and I love it, and I'll say something about the different languages. But when I came to it, I felt a commitment as an Israeli. It's such a, it's a personal, significant act for me to write this book about my country. So I felt it would be wrong to write it only in English. So I wrote it in Hebrew as well. And the Hebrew is not out yet because I didn't have the time to edit it. Because I did all the editing in English. So it was really a bilingual process. I wrote the book twice. And I'm very proud of the fact. I thought it was the right decision. Now, I'll tell you something about the languages. English is like rich clay. sense, more rich, many more words, and it's flexible and softer. Hebrew is like a rock. It's more limited in a sense, but in a sense strong. It's the language of the Bible. I mean, they wrote Hebrew when they really used the chips. and you feel it. You feel it because when you live the two languages, because in English there's more freedom. You can dance. It's a wonderful dance. But Hebrew is good. Hebrew writing is amazing because it's so concentrated and every word is charged and every sentence is. You are dealing with biblical stuff even when you write about sex and television, and it's fascinating. So I enjoy both. Again, Hebrew is my homeland. I mean, it's not that I have two passports. Hebrew is my homeland and my passport. But because I am comfortable and I love this country and I love English, in the game, the interplay between the two is really fascinating.
That's phenomenal that you wrote both of them. I think that's so cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, in terms of like opinion writing, it seems like so much journalism today, but especially so much opinion journalism today, is just constant like angry reactions and like really quickly put together blog posts or op-eds. And I guess I kind of wonder, what do you think is the optimal amount of time that you should be really putting into writing opinion journalism? And because so much, I mean, it can you blur the lines sometimes when you go like really deep. Like you have, it's really Ta-Nehisi Coates who writes these 10,000 word essays, but they're opinion pieces. But then you have people that are writing things out, every other day, and then sometimes it's every week or every 2 weeks. What do you think is? Do you think that you really have enough time to write like a really strong, good take on something in only a week?
So first of all, I am troubled with what you say. I think you're right that there is, and this is something in not that it was perfect before, but there is something troubling about our zeitgeist. I think we rush into judgment before we know the facts. And in this sense, talking of digital, I love Facebook, and Facebook is wonderful. The not like thing is a bit troubling because you rush into doing it before you act. It's like your first impression. Okay, so you make, and I mean, who did this? The Caesars, when they were deciding whether you're going to live or die. So the like thing, which seems so innocent, has a troubling aspect because you just read something. So if it's emotional things, something about a great restaurant, something makes you laugh and all that. That's wonderful. But when you deal with more complex things and political things, you as you said, you need to think and you need to learn a bit. And I think we are in a time where we are so easy to judge, and we are rushed into it before giving it some thought. So, I do my best in my own writing. At the end of the day, I could describe to you the process of my column writing, but this is after a week in which I talked to the leading politicians, I talked to experts, I talked to scholars, I did my thinking, I did my research. So I'm doing journalist work all day long, all week long. I mean, at the end, it comes. By the time I come to the writing, I don't need to do research usually because I did that all week. So, I hope and believe I'm not rushing into judgment. And by the way, although I can be very opinionated, I can be very tough in my writing, but I don't have joy in conflict for the sake of conflict. Or I do see with Israeli journalism, you have to see less of that in American journalism. Then there is people that enjoy crucifying people. I don't have it. I crucified several people in my professional life, but it wasn't because I enjoyed crucifying. And then, by the way, I don't like to be a crusader. When I had to, there were several times when I was really fighting the prime minister or fighting the chief of staff. You really have a big fight with strong figure. So you find yourself in a kind of campaign or crusade, but I don't enjoy it. I like much more to be thoughtful, to address all issues, and I'll say something about that. I think that this is, very important for journalist students, but I think it's true for all of us as citizens. Look, I have strong opinions, but I'm not into preaching, and I don't want people to agree with me. I don't have this need. I really don't have the totalitarian bug in me. I don't have that need. I even don't enjoy it, where there is too much conformity of thought. The one thing I ask people, this is especially important for young people, definitely for journalists, to address the complexity of reality. I think the imperative, it's a professional imperative, a moral and intellectual. For all of us, reality is complex, always. Definitely when it comes to the Middle East. And usually there is the part of the truth that is the inconvenient truth. And we tend to diminish it or ignore it and so on. So I think the exercise, the self-discipline, is to force yourself to deal with it. Wrestle with that part of reality that is actually not easy for you. And I think that if we force ourselves, teach ourselves to wrestle with the complexities of reality, the outcome will be a more civilized and more intelligent debate. So we don't have to agree, but I think that once we all wrestle with the complexity, the outcome will be a much, the public discourse, it is much more intelligent and hopefully also more civilized.
So, one more question, anyone? So I guess
I have a question coming up.
Go ahead.
Not directly about journalism, but more of a current events topic, a question. So with the recent events going on in the Golan Heights and Syria, can you touch a little bit on what you expect the future to hold and what your expectations are and what your hopes are for the future, the Golan and Syria?
My expectation, my hopes are world peace.
Good answer.
I worry. This is like a specific issue. I don't want to get into the specific, but to make just a last statement about the Middle East, I'm afraid that we're not addressing the fact of what is the deep malaise of the Middle East. And basically what you had in the Middle East is that it has a very problematic political reality. I'm in Israel, but I care very much about my Arab neighbors. And when I think about Arab youngsters, young men and young women, and I think what are the hopes they have, what are the political options they have, I'm dignified. Because they don't have democracy as an option. Only in Tunisia there is some hope. We also hope for regarding the Arab Spring, but what we see actually is that we had a corrupt order based on corrupt tyranny in the Middle East that basically collapsed, but was not replaced anywhere except for Tunisia by something resembling liberal democracy, but was complex with either military tyrannies that are even more brutal than before, or reactionary monarchies that somehow survive, or Islamic theocracies, or bloody chaos. So the Middle East is in deep trouble. And I think it's the commitment, the mission of the international community to address this as not just to zoom in on ISIS, zoom in on settlements, zoom in on that. You have to see that the whole region is out of control, and it's so dangerous. It's such a sensitive region. There is a human catastrophe throughout most of the Middle East. And we tend to focus only on specific issues, a lot of them related to my country. But again, it's okay to criticize my country when we do wrong things. But look at the context. The context is that young people don't have hope. Hundreds of thousands are being killed. Millions are being oppressed. Minorities throughout the regions are oppressed. Gays are oppressed. Women are oppressed. Christians are killed. So there is political malaise throughout the region, and we find it difficult to address it because we don't know what to do with it. So I think there is such a need for a renewed kind of thinking about the Middle East. And we need a new kind of peace concept for the Israeli-Palestinian issue. But we need a new kind of thinking to address the dangers of the region that was always problematic, but now is becoming dramatically dangerous. And I think we'll be held responsible if we do not come with a new kind of vision and new ideas that enable us to deal with the reality as it is and move things in the right direction without being utopian and without being naive. There won't be a Jeffersonian democracy in the Middle East, and there won't be perfect peace. But if we do want to prevent catastrophe and we want to improve the condition of the people living there, we need some new vision, and we need international leadership that will have the people of the region who are suffering so much and find it right now impossible to solve their own problems.
Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.